I've spent $6,000 on this game. I'm also a player and monitor. I've also played this game for a pretty good amount of time now. I'm fairly in-game. I can auto all the dungeons. I've done everything mostly except the faction war. I've got every in-game chest from clan boss. I've kind of got the experience, I feel like. And today, I would like to give you what I'm going to call the $6,000 Raid Shadow Legends review. Also, if you do care to play the game, I have a link in the top of the description. You can download it and play it on your computer through BlueStacks. It's the way I play it when I'm recording. I'm really going to break this review down into 3 different portions, which is going to be, first of all, the gameplay, the interactivity with the game, meaning things like the user interface, and then the last one's going to be the longevity and length and overall max potential this game has. Okay, let's talk about the gameplay first. This is what made me fall in love with the game originally and is the reason that I continue to play the game today. The gameplay itself is fairly fluid. While most of the gameplay is going to be based upon auto, meaning you're not actually manually playing it unless you really want to, much like other gacha games, even Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, once you get to a certain point, you tend to auto most of what you're doing if it's not the squad arena, for instance. That being said, the reason this game is so good is because of the variety of character selection you have available to you. So when it comes down to doing dungeons like this one, where you're fighting a big dragon or something, a large portion of what you're thinking about in your gameplay is seeing what characters you have available and building a team that's probably unique to you in your situation. This is where this game differentiates massively to other style games, because every person's roster tends to be extremely unique to their situation because all of the characters come from shards. You just pull a shard and you get a completely random character out of the almost 400 characters we have. So everyone's roster tends to be very different, which is why you tend to see things like champion guides on characters and not such things as like team guides or synergy guides. It's mostly like individual characters, and then you got to use your brain to figure out which of my characters that I own will work well together to beat this dungeon. And when it comes to character selection, this is what the factions look like. Each faction has tons and tons of different characters, ranging from common all the way up to legendary being hard to get, and etc. Anytime you want to pull a character, you have to go and open the shard, which is, where the pay-to-win aspect comes in. You can buy shards, and you can get random characters, which is both frustrating and cool, because you can get something that you may not even realize existed, and you got to fit that into your team, and try to get it to work. But at the same time, if you really want to get one certain character, it's extremely difficult to get the one you have in your brain, and for that reason it has pros and cons when it comes to collecting the characters. But there is almost 400 characters, and there's tons of different factions, and each character has, for the most part, a kit that is unique to themselves. Even if the buffs and debuffs they have in their kit isn't unique, at least the variety and combination they have of each one tends to be, so most characters have a place. And as far as the different things available to do once you have the characters, there's everything from the campaign, which is kind of where you just grind experience and you star that, to the dungeons where you acquire gear or potions to level up and ascend your characters, faction wars, which is kind of the in-game content, which is where you take your very best teams that are locked to certain factions and try to beat in-game content for big rewards. And there's the clan boss, which is basically kind of like raids. Your entire clan tries to take out, and you guys can all do that together. It's a daily thing. You don't have to pay to get the bosses to show up. They just show up, and you can fight them when you get keys that generate automatically. So there's a lot of different in-game content to do. Another one of my favorite things is that the arena itself, the PvP aspect, the rewards it give you are just rewards you can just grind out, meaning you don't have to be good in the arena in order to really be high tier. You don't have to be able to beat all the best teams. There isn't daily payouts that are required from the arena. So you don't have to worry about sucking in the arena. If you lose, it's not really like a big deal. You won't get as many bonus stats, but you don't have to pay more money to beat the guy in the arena, because it doesn't really benefit you as much as these other games. I don't have to wail harder than the person next to me. Everyone's roster in and of themselves is pretty locked to you, and there's not really like competition in the game where it's like, hey, my roster needs to be better than yours in order for me to enjoy the game. Unless you just like competition for competition's sake between clanmates or something, there is not really anything in the game itself to benefit you from like beating another person, unless maybe it's higher damage on the raid, on the clan boss. So for that reason, I'm a cooperative, not really a competition type of guy. So I really like that aspect of the game. And then when it comes to where you're going to get like your rewards, where you get your stuff, it's mostly just going to be from daily activities that you complete, as well as the events that they're randomly going to show up, the ones that you choose to participate in. And that's the other thing. You can skip events in this game. If you don't want to work on an event because it's too expensive, not free to play friendly, or just doesn't have rewards that interest you, you can just entirely skip the event. It's not really like a big deal. It's not like in other games where if you miss the latest event, you're just behind. I mean, technically you're going to be behind other people that beat it, but it doesn't matter, if you get my point. There's not really a behind. It's like a circular track, and there's not really like a checkpoint. It's just we're all kind of just running the race. Okay, so the gameplay is good. It's not really massively competitive. Why isn't this game huge? Why isn't it like number one? The graphics are good. You think you'd be doing well. Well, a large portion of what's going on with the game has to do with the other things we're going to review, which is going to be user interface, quality of life, and longevity of the game. Okay, let's start with the parts that they need to fix immediately for you to understand where people who are currently playing the game may be frustrated if you're trying to decide on the game. And that for sure, right off the bat, is going to be the gearing system, the user interface. If you're familiar with Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, these work almost identical to mods, except there's 9 slots, and there's a little bit better access in terms of stats. I mean, the stats I think are almost more important than I would say mods were. The gears they completely change your character. They make it better. Gear makes your character like significantly stronger, for instance. But the interface system is just purely not good. Now, they've upgraded it recently to add these new tabs and everything, but before it was even worse. And in order to access things, like if I want to find a chest plate that has an HP primary that's a 6-star chest plate that has these secondaries, there's no way to do that except going and like literally manually looking at all my chest plates. So they need to get some kind of search filter system in the game. Every single one of us moderators and in the feedback group, we've been hammering on this option, as well as all of the general user base has been hammering on this option as well. I do firmly believe that they are attempting to do feedback because I am in the feedback group. I have seen how they handle the feedback, and while it may not be as obvious to the general user base setting, because to be honest, there is some improvement that needs to happen in communication between the development company and the audience. While they do a good job of letting you know where the game's going, they put out a whole year roadmap, which shows you everything that's going to be updated within a year. I mean, and they're pushing away a piece at a time each one. It looks like a real deal. They're going through the roadmap. That being said, their communication with the audience tends to be not very clear, not consistent. They tend to push back deadlines, and for that reason, they've got kind of a bad name within their own community. So they're kind of fighting against their own reputation at the moment, which has been a pretty good chunk of the reason you've got negative reviews of it and stuff recently. They've been a little greedy with some of the events that have come out. They've been too expensive events or not accessible enough to people. They've been definitely targeting whales more than dolphins, as many mobile games do. So the pay-to-win aspect and how they handle the customers could be improved. And to be honest, I'm finding this to be a fairly consistent thing in the mobile game genre. It seems to me like you'll get a good game, a good product, good gameplay. We all like the game, and then we kind of do struggle with the company, or we'll struggle with the way they tend to communicate or the events they choose to offer players, and that kind of tends to deteriorate the player base down to the hardcore fans. And I believe that's starting to happen now, as I think the player base is getting slightly deteriorated down to the hardcore fans. I can see this represented in YouTube analytics, as well as just general conversation with the populace, as well as in the Discord, and I'm a moderator and I get lots of feedback. And so if I'm going to say the negative side of the game that they need to work on, it's going to be everything else other than the gameplay. It's going to be the way they handle the longevity of the game. In order to fix that longevity of the game, they're going to need to be as upfront and direct with the customer base as possible, and they're going to need to handle the events better going forward. Now, wrapping up the review, do you think that these negative things that are going on with the game currently are going to stop me from recommending the game? And I'm going to say no, I don't believe it's going to stop me from recommending the game in its current place, because the gameplay itself is very enjoyable, and I would recommend playing the game free to play. I think I would just get in, play it free to play. When you start the game completely within your mind, just throw away the possibility of spending money and just enjoy the game for what it is, because the game is quite good, just gameplay wise, as long as you don't get sucked in to really being so pot committed like I did, of spending so much money and so pot committed in this game, where if it really doesn't become the permanent game, you're going to be really bummed. If you stay away from that, I think this game has really got something in it, at least for a while. We at least has some legs for a bit. I believe the company is in fact trying to improve. I've seen the feedback. I've seen them trying to improve. I think they're their own worst enemy in this moment, but I'm hoping they're getting out of their own way and getting better. I'll leave that link in the top of the description, so if you wish to download this game and join the Well Pod and chat us all, join the Discord and you can chat with us and we'll answer questions. And you can download, I played on BlueStacks, so I have on the top there is the link, and you can download it for BlueStacks if you wish through my link, and then you can play it on the PC, and I'll link in the card here. I have a thing teaching you how you can farm overnight and stuff to save yourself some time. Now, as far as a 1 to 10 on this game, what am I going to give it now that I've spent $6,000 and played it for 4 months and been a content creator on it? For me, it's pretty highly rated. I think I was going to give it a 9 out of 10, but due to the recent events and maybe killing a little bit of the hype that I believe they themselves have done, I'm going to drop it down to a 7.5, maybe an 8. I think if they recover and maybe be a little bit less greedy and give a little bit better free-to-play events, and continue to listen to feedback, because I do believe they are listening to feedback. If they continue to do that, I believe the longevity in the game is going to be improved massively. So that's my my second review of this game after now having played it. I reviewed it originally for a little bit, and now I wanted to give a more detailed one. So thanks for watching this rambling for a bit. I love y'all. If you install the game, I'll see you in raid. If not, cheers, I love you. I'll see you on the next video, whatever that may be. Bye-bye now.